Well, hello everybody. Welcome to what is a very special session today where we are featuring the works of Aynsley. Aynsley is an English bone china house or company. Of course, as I said, English, therefore it is out of England. And it was established in 1775 by a gentleman called John Aynsley. And what you see in front of you is a very famous example of Aynsley bone china. This is their famous dogwood pattern, and this pattern comes in a variety of colors, a variety of shapes, the most desirable of which is their quatrefoil pattern. It is called quatrefoil because the teacup is more or less in a square shape. And it comes in vivid colors, pale colors, bright pinks, teal, green, just about any color your little heart could wish. And these teacups have been known to sell for up to $400 plus. Unfortunately for us, this somewhere in its structure has damage because the cup does not ring properly. It's quite dead, quite hollow when you tap it. It should ring like a bell, and this one doesn't. We've tried everything to discover what might possibly be the structural damage to this cup. We've tried the old tea trick of trying to trace the stain so it would show the crack, but we can discover no discernible crack to the naked eye. But still, we don't get that beautiful, lovely ring to the teacup that we should get. So this teacup does not fetch the price that we would like it to fetch, but it is still absolutely stunning and would make a wonderful cabinet piece. So Aynsley was established in 1775, and it underwent a great deal of amalgamations and purchases over its existence, its history. And it was ultimately purchased by Waterford. Both Spode, if you recognize that name, and Waterford put in bids uh, for the company of Aynsley in 1970, but Waterford won when they placed a bid for £1 million sterling, and Waterford ultimately became the proud possessor of the House of Aynsley. And that lasted again with various amalgamations, including one with Hammersley in about 1989, I believe, until it was finally purchased in 2014 by the Belleek Pottery Company out of Ireland. And its famous shop, Aynsley's famous shop in Portland, its Portland Works in Longton, was finally closed in 2015. And there is, technically Aynsley's, I think, still exists, but I don't believe any goods are being created under that name as of today. Now, this is a beautiful example of some very, I would say, maybe Art Deco version of Aynsley. This is a little dessert platter. I'll tell you something about fine bone china. When you feel it, you know it. It's just got a certain feel to it, a certain heft to it, a vividness of white to its color, and the detailing is exquisite. You can see that care has been taken with it, and Aynsley is just top of its class. Aynsley was chosen by Queen Elizabeth and Lady Diana as the bone china for their wedding present. So I hunted high and low on the internet for pictures of their wedding presents, their wedding china. And strangely enough, there are no pictures of it available on the internet today. Now, this next piece is something that collectors everywhere want to get their hands on. This has the famous flower handle, or figural handle, it's called. Aynsley and Paragon and Royal Albert, all the bone china houses, as far as I know, or the majority of them, put out figural handles, sometimes in the shape of butterflies, sometimes in the shape of people or animals, but often in the shape of flowers. And a teacup that has a figural handle automatically goes for very high money. Typically, it does depend a little bit on the brand and the pattern. Now, sadly, this teacup is missing its saucer. It's missing its saucer, and that is heartbreaking. But I'm not about to chuck it. I do have hopes that someday I will find the saucer that belongs to this piece. It is just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece indeed. Now, Aynsley has a variety of patterns for everyday china. This is called Wild Tudor. This is a milk jug, and this still happens to have its original sticker, which is unusual. And in our timeless tea parties, this is a piece that you could rent to put on your tea table. Now, they, of course, are most famous for their teacups. However, Aynsley did all kinds of dinnerware. And here is a sample of some of their bread plates. Now, this particular pattern is known as the tulip pattern, and multiple bone china houses use this pattern. Aynsley was no exception. They cashed in on this pattern as well. And this you can see here in pastel pink and in pastel blue. Very, very elegant for any tea party. Now, Aynsley also put out reissued random patterns at different times in their existence. These patterns were originally issued in the 1930s. And what you see on top of this stack has to be my all-time favorite pattern for dinner plates. It is Heart's Ease or Pansies, as is classically known in the West. I just think that has to be one of the sweetest dinner plates that was ever put out on the marketplace. And then this pattern, I don't know that it has a name. It doesn't even have a number associated with it. But again, it has that tulip. It has that tulip pattern associated with it. And here, this is just this, again, another very sweet and dainty pattern. This one does have a number associated with it. It's B3024. Sometimes when you're searching the internet, you can find the pattern you're looking for by looking up the number. Again, another sweet pattern with Heart's Ease or Johnny Jump Ups or violas woven into it. This one is very unique. It looks like the collar of a lady's blouse. And this one is definitely harking back to, I would say, the 1930s, as is this one. This has got that Art Deco vibe with those gold streaks in it and green flowers. And I would say this one is another case in point. This has raised enamel dots on it, red enamel dots. And then finally, the blue, again with that famous tulip pattern on it as well. Now it's time to get into some Aynsley teacups. Aynsley teacups. And I am sorry that I don't have all the famous teacups that Aynsley possesses. I do not possibly have the money for all the Aynsley teacups because there are some incredibly expensive ones, including their chrysanthemum and butterfly. But I have a few that are pretty precious, and we're going to get into them. But first of all, let's do some Aynsley corset-shaped teacups. Aynsley corset-shaped teacups. And over here, we have a tiny example of what I call the Aynsley rose. It is a rose that is very well known and associated with Aynsley. You'll see this rose repeated many, many times in various ways on their teacups. And this shape of teacup is called a corset shape for pretty obvious reasons. And this teacup here, this particular rose pattern, this pink cabbage rose is another one that is very closely associated with Aynsley. And once upon a time, these teacups also, with this particular cabbage rose, sold for very high prices as well. This one, because it is plain white, probably wouldn't have sold as high. And sadly, this teacup, I think I mentioned in another video, has some damage to it. And then a plainer teacup, but still very startling, is this beautiful, beautiful emerald green teacup. It's perfect for St. Patrick's Day. Perfect for St. Patrick's Day. So those are corset shape. And now, speaking about the Aynsley rose, we have two examples here of the Aynsley rose. This particular pattern is beginning to go up in price. It used to be that you could get these teacups for sometimes $30. Not so anymore. This one is in sky blue, and I still see a few of them floating around on the internet for a lower price. But this next teacup here in cobalt with the massive cabbage roses on both the saucer and the cup, they're starting to push the 175 235 mark. So these are very precious cups indeed. And I encourage you, if you want cups like that, go out and grab them ASAP. Now, Aynsley was known for rocking some very unusual colors. And this is a case in point. Here is that pink cabbage rose again, but it's combined with a kind of a burnt umber. Now, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but this is a textured teacup. Do you see the leaves kind of embedded into the bone china itself? This is their crocus pattern cup. Their crocus pattern cup. And that raises the value of the teacup. That alone. And do you see the interesting shape of the handle? Bit square, blunt on the top. That's another important factor as well. Now, Aynsley is famous for their orchard pattern or harvest pattern. And these are two examples. They were painted, hand-painted by two ladies, Doris Jones and Emily Blunt. And these are very precious. This is the orchard gold or harvest gold. And this was painted by Doris Brunt. And this is one of my prized possessions. The gold almost makes it look 3D. I won't part for this for love of money. This is special, and the rich gold interior. If you ever drink from one of these cups, you never want to use metal to stir, a metal spoon to stir it with. You want to use something softer like plastic because it scratches very easy. And again, this is the cobalt version. No image on the saucer, but again, that beautiful picture in the center of the cup. Now, Aynsley also shared a pattern with other bone china companies. It's known as the triple rose or the Stanley rose. I think Aynsley did it best, but Clarence, which is a lesser bone china company, also did an outstanding job of this teacup as well. But look at those massive cabbage roses. Aren't they just aren't they just stunning? This teacup is actually a very, very soft pastel blue, but again, I'm not sure that it's going to show up very well on the camera. And then our second last beautiful Aynsley surprise is something called a Bailey. A Bailey. This, out of all my teacups, is my absolute favorite. Not even the next teacup that I own is my favorite. This one is my pride, my joy. A signed J.A. Bailey teacup. These were painted by a gentleman named Joseph A. Bailey. And can you imagine this gentleman sat day after day painting this same scene? He painted this scene on what is called the Bailey, the gold Bailey. He painted them on solid gold, much like the orchard one was. And at one point, those teacups were selling for 1,800 Canadian dollars. I do believe they've gone down significantly in price, but they are still cherished, still valuable, and you're a very fortunate person if you own a Bailey. The combination of colors, that bright red poppy, those beautiful bluebells or forget-me-nots combined with that pink rose is just so stunning. And last but not least, we have something that not many collectors have the privilege of owning. It was my Christmas gift this year, or my birthday gift rather. Christmas and birthday are very close for me. And that is the amazing, incredible Aynsley Clipper ship. Again, Doris Jones, not Doris Brunt. I think I made a mistake a little bit back in the video, but Doris Jones, the lady Doris Jones, painted this marvelous piece of artwork. What can you say about this? Let's just put it this way, you don't drink tea from this cup. Although it looks fabulous with tea poured over top of it. It almost gives it that 3D look. But this is precious and rarely sells below $600 Canadian. Rarely sells below that. And usually comes in very basic colors of dark green, burgundy, black, cobalt, of this shade, this matte. Well, I guess in this case it's glossy. This shade of color, and that is at least a partial collection, a sample of what Aynsley was capable of doing. Pretty spectacular stuff. I encourage you, go out on the internet and do some more looking. Aynsley has some pieces that I certainly don't possess, as I said at the beginning of the video, that are even more stunning than I own. And they defy description for their beauty. But this at least is an introduction to what Aynsley has to offer. And maybe, perhaps, thanks to this video, you too will become an Aynsley addict. Till the next time.